Hi, in this video I want to have a look at natural harmonics. Now you've probably all heard harmonics in guitar music before. It's where the string's picked and instead of getting what you'd see as the normal note out of it, you get this high-pitched ringing sound that comes out of the string. And this is what a harmonic is. Now, harmonics are used a lot in rock and metal music. And you know, when you have a heavily distorted guitar, these harmonics ring out and squeal out and screech out of the guitar, and you'll almost certainly have heard them in this style of music. But you can play harmonics on acoustic guitars, and you know, you can incorporate this into blues music as well. And although it's not that commonly used, it is a nice handy technique to know to incorporate into your music. So it's something that you can add a bit of variety or emphasis to, and it can just add something more to the music you're playing. Now, there are many different types of harmonics, such as artificial harmonics, tap harmonics, and such like. And these are different ways of playing the harmonics. But in this video, I just want to look at one type of harmonic, and that's natural harmonics. And the reason I want to have a look at these is because, one, they're actually the easiest type of harmonic to play, and two, they're well suited to an acoustic guitar. It can often be a lot harder to get the harmonics to ring out on an acoustic guitar than it can be on an electric guitar with a lot of distortion. But natural harmonics are a nice, easy way to play them, and it's a nice technique to learn for a beginner into harmonics. So that's what I want to have a look at in this video. I want to show you what natural harmonics are and how to play them. Okay, before I go on to show you how to play natural harmonics, I first want to tell you just a bit about how harmonics work. I suppose you could say the science behind them, but I want to keep this nice and basic. I don't want to get into deep details about how these work. Now, this is applicable for all harmonics, not just natural harmonics, because the principle behind them is exactly the same. So what are they? Well, basically, when you play a string on a guitar like this, you get a range of tones coming out from the string that make the noise. And these are classed as the fundamentals and the overtones. And when you pick a string like this, you get both the fundamentals and the overtones coming out together. And that's what makes the noise and the pitch at where it's at. Now, what you're doing with harmonics is you're basically cutting part of that out so that only a part of it rings out. Basically, what you're doing is you're cutting out the fundamentals and letting the overtones ring out. So, what you're doing is, so if this is, say, a guitar standard tuning, you've got the top E string here. That's the normal string with all the tones. That's a harmonic played on it. And what you can hear is there's a less fuller sound, but what you get is a higher pitch and this ringing sound that comes out. And basically what I've done by playing the harmonic is I've cut out part of the overall sound to only let a certain part of that sound ring out, the overtones. And this is how all harmonics work. Basically what you're doing is you're taking what would be, you know, the whole sound that comes from a string, cutting part of it out to only let a smaller part of it ring out, and that smaller part is the harmonic. Like I said, the science behind it's a lot more complicated, but in basic terms, that is what harmonics are. And all harmonics you play, whether it be natural, artificial, or tap harmonics, or whatever, are doing the same thing. They're basically cutting part of the overall sound out so you can let these overtones ring out. So that's basically what you're doing. Now, what I want to do is show you how to play these natural harmonics. Okay, so let's have a look at how to play natural harmonics. Now, like I said, natural harmonics are the easiest of the harmonics to play, but the big downside of natural harmonics is that they'll only work in a small number of positions across the fretboard, whereas things like artificial harmonics can be moved about a bit more and have more versatility. Natural harmonics are actually quite limited, but we'll start here and use them because they are the easiest to play. Now, like I said, when you're playing harmonics, what you're doing is you're taking the whole sound that would be produced and cutting a chunk of it off. And the way you do this is by lightly resting your finger on the string, playing the string, and then as you play it, pulling the fretting finger off. So you're not pressing the string down, you're not even engaging the fret on the fretboard. What you're doing is lightly resting it where the fret is. So in this case, we'll use the 12th fret here because this is the fret that the harmonic rings out the most on. So we'll put our finger just lightly resting across the 12th fret on the E string like this. We'll pluck the string, and then just as we do it, we'll pull this finger off like this. And you can hear the sound that's coming out, and that's the harmonic that you're looking for. Now, the difficulty in doing these harmonics is you have to get the pull off and just right to get the most of it to ring out. I mean, you can do it without pulling the finger off here, and you can still sort of hear it ringing out, but it is quite muffled. So to get the harmonic to ring out its best, you have to learn this technique to pull it off just at the right time. Like so. So that's how you play them. It will take a bit of practice initially, but once you get the hang of it, it isn't too bad. And like I said, if you're playing a piece of music, even if you don't get the pull off from the string 100% correct, you'll still get some of the harmonics ringing out. Okay, so that's how to play them. Now what I want to do is show you the limitations and where you can play natural harmonics on the guitar. Now, natural harmonics are limited, and you can only realistically play them in a small number of positions. And this depends on other factors such as the tuning of the guitar and also the type of guitar you're using. So harmonics tend to ring out better on different strings. And also if you've got, like say, an electric with a lot of distortion, you can get harmonics to ring out easier. But for the purposes of this video, we're looking at acoustic guitars, and we're just going to look at the places that it rings out the best. And the places that the harmonics ring out the best are fret 12, so across the strings on fret 12, fret 7, and fret 5. Now, like I said, there are places you can get some ringing out at other positions on the fretboard, but not many. But realistically, the ones that really just make the sounds for natural harmonics are 5, 7, and 12. And what I'll do is, to show this, I'll just gently rest my finger on the string here, and I'll move it up as a pick, and you'll hear them starting to ring out as I get to certain positions. Now, as I moved up the string, what you heard is that in most places, all that came out was a muffled sound. But as I came over the 5th fret, the 7th fret, and the 12th fret, you started to hear these harmonics ringing out. And these are the positions where the harmonics ring out the most. Now, you also might have noticed that they don't ring out the same. So on the 5th fret, there's still quite a lot of muffling with the harmonic, less so on the 7th, but at the 12th, it tends to ring out the most. And that tends to be the place that you're going to hear natural harmonics played the most, is the 12th fret, because it rings out so much. But you still get a good sound from the 5th and 7th fret. So if you are playing natural harmonics, especially on acoustic guitar, I would recommend just sticking to these 3 frets. You can get some harmonics ringing out in other places, but it's tricky and the sound isn't that great. So for natural harmonics on acoustic, I would recommend sticking a 5, 7 and 12. Now, what notes do you get when you actually play them? Well, it's not as straightforward as you think. So if we take the E string, the highest E string on the guitar, now when we play it open, we get this E here. If we play a harmonic on the 12th fret like this, we still get an E, but it is an octave higher than the open string. So it's the same as what you get at the 12th fret. Like so. So that's fair enough. At the 7th fret, and the 7th fret on the E string is a B. When it's fretted, it sounds like that. So if we play the harmonic on the 7th fret like this, what we get is a B and an octave higher. Like so. Again, pretty straightforward, but things are different on the 5th fret. Now on the 5th fret, it's an A when it's fretted. But when we play the harmonic, we don't get an A. What we get is that. And what that is an E, but it's 2 octaves higher than an open string. So if you take the harmonic at the 12th fret, which is 1 octave higher at an E, that's an E an octave higher than the open. At the 5th, it's an E 2 octaves higher than the open. Like so. So you have to bear that in mind if you're writing music. That at the 12th fret, you'll get the same note. At the 7th fret, you'll get the same note as the 7th fret. But if you're playing it on the 5th fret, you'll get the same note as the open string, but 2 octaves higher. Okay, so that's basically how to play natural harmonics. Now what I want to do is have a look at how it's notated in music. Okay, so I've showed you how to play natural harmonics, but what if you're reading a piece of music? What are the symbols you have to look out for in the musical score that tells you to play a natural harmonic? Well, that's what I want to have a look at now. Okay, usually, you know, if you're playing guitar music, you'll either have one of two things, or both, and that's the musical notation or the tab. And natural harmonics are denoted differently in these different types of musical score. So in standard notation, what you have is you have the stave lines and you have your notes on them. And the notes usually will have a little ball at the bottom of them like this. It may be filled in or hollow depending on the type of note. But if it's a natural harmonic, it won't have the ball on the bottom that sits on the stave. What it'll have is a diamond shape. So it's like a square rotated 45 degrees round. And that's the symbol in standard notation that tells you to play a natural harmonic. This tends to be for guitar music. In other instruments, it can sometimes be denoted by a small circle above, but you're not really likely to see that very much. So the symbol to look out for in standard notation really is this sort of diamond shape at the bottom of the note. But let's be honest, we don't usually pay attention to the standard notation much, and sometimes we don't even have it. So usually the tab is where we'll be reading it. So what symbols are there on tab music to tell you to play a natural harmonic? Well, usually what you'll see is you will see the position that you're meant to play it, say the 12th fret like this. And what you will see is this will be in some kind of parentheses, usually a square bracket. And above that, above the tab, what you will see written is either harm to denote harmonic or NH to denote natural harmonic. And that means you have to play them as a natural harmonic. So if you see I run a 12 going down the strings like this, in these square brackets with NH or harm above it, it means do natural harmonics like this. Now, although that's probably what you're going to see, often, especially in text tabs, what you're going to see is a natural harmonic. And instead of in square brackets, what it's in is in a greater than and less than set of brackets like this. It won't have harm written at the top or anything like that. You will just see the fret number in these brackets like this. And that means play natural harmonics as well. Okay, so these are some of the symbols to look out for. Hopefully, if you're playing a piece of music, you'll have a well-written tab plus the standard notation. So by looking and seeing these symbols, you'll know clearly that it's a natural harmonic to play. But if not, and if the tab or the music's a wee bit sketchy, just keep your eyes out for these symbols, and hopefully that'll give you an indication that you have to play a natural harmonic in the music. Okay, so that's a brief overview of natural harmonics and how to play them. Like I said, they're not that common in blues or acoustic music, but they're a handy technique to learn, and they're a nice little addition to pieces of music, you know, add a bit of variety or emphasis. Like I said, natural harmonics are nice and easy to play, so they're the best place to start with this. You've got your 5th, your 7th and your 12th fret, and you can get a nice little range of these ringing notes coming out from here that can add a bit to your music. So give it a try, get your guitar out and start playing these harmonics, and you'll hear these lovely ringy sounds coming out that can be incorporated into your music. Thanks for watching.